found it and you answer those questions, and you can refer to what it is that you wrote. So it's not like you have to speak extemporaneously, but you say, here is some research I found that I wanted to share with you. The question was, in this changing world of work and women working out of the home and men not working out of the home, is that having an effect on child maltreatment? They research that they did looked at county level information and number of working men and working women and the children in the home, and they were really wondering whether it had impacted on whether children reported child abuse cases. And it turns out that as women were working more out of the home, that the incidences of child maltreatment increases, and as men are working out of the home, the incidence of how did that go? Is that accurate?
If men were unemployed and at home, then the maltreatment increased, and if women were unemployed and at home, the maltreatment decreased.
All right.
But they found
in the reverse, right?
Yeah, but that's when they looked at specifically at gender. But if they didn't look at gender and they looked at economics overall, then the cases decreased.
Yeah, that's that's a great. So there's two things that I'd like to thank you very much for doing.
Yeah.
So anyone can do that and pull it in. You're getting that together. Great. Now that one is the way that in this dysfunctional world that we have in some cases, right? You hear people and they take the same data and they say something that's accurate but misleading, right? So they'll say, well, the more women that work out of the home, the more there's abuse of children, right? And you're like, that's true. This did point that out, but that's not really like exactly. It's a little misleading. You say, well, that, and then what someone else would say is that, the more that that guys stay home, the more abuse there is, something like that, right? So then they go, is that what is, but it can be misleading because people will often hear what they want to hear. So.
But they also cited that there are other factors.
Yes, that was the second thing.
Maltreatment, and that they also only looked at California.
Oh.
So they didn't look at the country.
Probably because of the available data or the reliability of the data or how the data is collected and measured. So and yet, right, then but people will make sweeping corollaries, right? They'll make sweeping generalizations based upon some particular piece of data if it supports their political agenda. You follow me? That you've seen that happen before. So we as scientists want to be careful about getting onto that bandwagon. We want to say, well, what does it say? And let's not pretend that the study says something that it didn't say. Let's not generalize too much, but it's valuable information, but that's why I wanted to have you do that. That other piece, which is exactly it, those other elements that bring it to bear. Do you think that the economic environment that brings about people, say, working out of the home, could be thought of as from the perspective of these individual cases, right? Let's say there's someone who's working outside of the home, right? Then you might say, well, that's just their culture, or they say that's their desperate situation, or that's their freedom to do so. You're with me? And depending on what we're talking about, or you're not really sure whether someone are they unemployed at home because they're comfortably and well off, or are they that's their culture, or are they can't find a job and their stress levels are high, and that information is not in that study. So that would be something else you would pair up with that.
What's malnutrition?
Meaning poor treatment. Mal is like negative treatment. So probably for this, it's anything that was reported as mistreatment and that's another piece, right? Is there any
whether or not it's reported?
Yeah. Do you think there's child abuse that doesn't get reported?
They define it.
Do you think that there's some kinds of maltreatment that gets reported because of it also serves some kind of issue, right? You know, so you're saying, I gotta get this person out of my apartment. What's the quickest way to do that? You know, I have an idea. I got this cool. So, right, you know. So, but generally, you know, when we're talking about these research projects, I like that they were interested in finding things that you're interested in sharing with the class. It's a great opportunity. What do you got, Val?
I got one, yeah.
Do you have it ready to do?
Yeah.
All right, good. You got the answer to 3 questions?
No.
All right, go ahead and prepare those. That's important. You prepare the answers so that they go rapidly. So like here was this one. Born on the 4th of July. Remember I did this one for you? And then I showed you the model. Though it's always the 3 questions. Bam, bam, bam. On all your abstracts, you just, 1 sentence basically for each one. What's the question? What was the answer to the question based upon the research? How did they go about finding that information? What kind of data did they pull? And this is in that book of everything explained in Blackboard. So you have it, and a second one as well, having to do with GDP. Yes.
So for this, do we need to conclude the answer as the full engagement sheet number 2?
For full engagement, it's G number 2 and like a few other ones too. I think you have to do this like 4 times during the semester.
Oh, so we need to write down the answer.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, just like this. This is what I would expect you to attach. I did bring in the stapler now. So the abstract up above, where I take it out by using cut and paste. I don't know, little clip art. You know what did I show you how I did that? There's this snipping tool. I don't know if where the hell is it?
Oh no, you lost it.
Come on.
Now we're gonna move
If you hit the Windows key, you should just be able to type snip.
Yeah. See that snipping tool? I love that thing. And you just go like, okay, I want to put this into my document, that right there, and you just go to Word and drop it in. It saves all the old way of doing things, either screenshot, cropping, pasting, saving it as a file somewhere, pulling it up, downloading a virus accidentally, all that kind of thing. Easy. Easy. You know, you're watching some movie on your screen, and you're like, whoa, I want to save that moment and share it with
What
my
movie are you
class You got it. I don't know. I used to just enjoy making people laugh by being the funny guy, but I enjoy much more just laying out the straight lines and letting other people be funny. It's just great. I don't know. I'm glad that you're picking up on it. You're a good group of people. Okay. What's
I
that?
got a quick question not related to the topic whatsoever. Do you want me to ask it now?
Probably not. Probably not. We got to get it roped back in.
We have
It's real quick, I promise.
No, Coco.
Did I do that?
I think his shirt is
Did I do it with you guys with the cigarettes? We talk about
on his wrist.
Oh, is that what you guys?
I just wanted to ask him where.
All right. So let me see my little sheet here.
It doesn't look like it, but then thinking about it, it probably is a cover. Huh? He is, easy top.
I don't know, you see a euphemism. That's what you
Stenard, I was just gonna say, I can say it real quick. I was just gonna say, is your shirt monogrammed or are those cufflinks?
That's monogram shirt.
It is monogrammed. See, that's what because I noticed it when you put your hand on the big thing. And I was just curious.
Just that sort of a person. All right, let me make it easy for you. When you go home and you're telling people about this class that you're taking, I'm giving you lots of material to share. Like, well, what's your professor like? Well, where do I begin?
He's got suspenders and a monogram shirt.
Yes, suspenders, monogram shirt. Oh, you don't have to say anything more. No, I do. He does, like movies, he'll stop at particular scenes.
I've never heard of anyone stopping.
He has his all presentations. And he used to work for the biggest investment bank in the world. And
He's in a
and he
bank.
received the Chancellor's Award of Teaching Excellence, SUNY-wide award. And I think he's insane.
Can I make band t-shirts for you?
Let's do it!
He's not even kidding. I'm sure he's not kidding.
Do you want to share your extra credit idea?
No, absolutely not. I just
Wait, does she
want
have
it to be
one?
a surprise.
I feel like we need to know
Okay,
what
so
it
she
is.
wants to be a surprise. Okay.
Bribing.
I can respect
We're gonna
that.
bribe? We have to participate?
The whole class?
I refuse. She can't do it now.
There's a number of
Yeah,
different
you guys are
pitches
fine.
here.
That's balance credit.
You're gonna pitch yours tomorrow, right? Si?
Am I getting paid to do it?
Um,
I'll take it. Cookies are definitely worth it.
So this is our schedule, and so you can see that we talked about tax incidents yesterday, yacht, cigarette, steel tariff, and head tax. And then what we're doing today is rent control, minimum wage, and Nixon with price control.
So that's
This is, and what I'd also like to do is get to some of these sheets that I handed out to you, that big packet, and some of these things that I didn't do. So, right here, I'm going to give you, this is an old take-home exam that I used to give. So I'm not, it says take-home exam on it, you're not going to hand it in. What you're going to do is you're going to write notes to yourself about this so you have an idea about the kind of questions that I ask. So then it gives you focus, because there's so many different things to talk about.
Is it a multiple choice final?
The actual final is a multiple choice. Yes, sir. Yep. Very thoughtful. Did you know you guys do? You want to get that third one first?
What does it suck?
And that cocoa experiment, do we have to do that on our own online?
So you fill out that sheet and then you upload it online. Exactly.
The cocoa experiment, you know? What's her name?
So-
What's her name? Miss White Cocaine.
Notice the quality of the answers. The quality of the answers I'm looking at. So let's go ahead and read these instructions right here.
You guys don't know that.
What it is that I'm looking for in the essays. Now not that you're going to be writing essays, but you are going to be good answers, right? Great answers. Look for these types of things. For me, I'm looking for these things from you. Can you name the principle of economics? Can you say that's a good example of the fallacy of sunk cost? That is a good example of ceteris paribus assumption. That's an excellent idea of unintended consequences. This is a good example of the law of demand. Well, it's a perfect example of the deadweight loss. You know, can you name it by name and define it, hopefully? A graph of the relevant market is often something that eludes students because they don't think in those sorts of terms. But economists love graphs, right? I had nicknames for all my college classes. Geology was rocks, biology was frogs, economics, graphs and laughs. I was that kind of a guy that nicknamed my college classes, right? So, and a graph of the relevant market, when we think about the graph, the best graphs are not like pictographs. They're just conveying the same information but in a graph form. The graph really that I'm thinking about always shows a relationship between two variables or two things. So the relationship between price and quantity, for instance, is a graph that's so useful because you say, well, what happens as price goes up? What happens to quantity? You're like, well, quantity demanded goes down, but quantity supplied goes up. That's why there's two graphs, right? As price increases, the quantity supplied goes up because suppliers are willing to go to all the trouble to be a supplier to that market if they can get a higher price, right? But demanders are less and less willing to buy at higher and higher prices. So that's why the quantity demanded goes down when price goes up, but when price goes up, the quantity supplied goes up as well. And that sort of relationship, right? It's not just that it's a graph, but it conveys a whole lot of information in 3 elegant lines. And so if you can think about what's happening in the thing that you're talking about and show how the graph goes, then we can do that. So I'm going to, during the course of today's talk, I'm going to answer some of these questions. And you might, I would put the things I give you in your notebook and then come back to this and say, can I answer these questions? Can I name the principle? Can I draw a graph? And then can I demonstrate an understanding of the marginality principle? Now notice this. The marginality principle is in the general instructions of the essays. I have 6 different essays in this essay test. And yet I'm asking for a graph for every one. I'm asking for the marginality principle in every one. And of course an economic principle. Now the economic principle being asked about each one, that shouldn't surprise you, that's typical. But to think that the marginality principle is that fundamental that it applies to everything in economics. And that's good for you to know. That's why I'm really trying to stress. So you go, okay, what's the marginality principle again? Say, well, the question is about one more. Remember? We're trying to say, what's the cost of one more versus the benefit of one more? Was the last one the last one? Or is it useful to do one more? You know, and you say, what's the cost of, you know, you say, for instance, is not whether we should have property tax or not, but whether we should raise property taxes by a percentage point, lower it by a percentage point. That's the marginality principle. The idea is not whether we should wear high heel shoes to the prom. Isn't that the first question? High school girls at the prom will often remove their stylish heels sometimes during the evening. Use the rationality assumption to explain when and why they take off their shoes. The reason why we have to use the rationality assumption is because we can't know for sure that every high school girl who takes her shoes off is rational. We can't prove it, right? But at the time they take their shoes off, we can assume, right, that they did so rationally. Somebody stole my pen. Who took it? I gave it to
Was it a monogram pen?
Do you want mine? I
It wouldn't, come on, you're telling me it would surprise you if he had a monogram pen? I'm sure he's probably got 7 extra pens in
I
his.
do have some monogram pens.
Here.
Of course. Pens that are gifts.
Catch this.
They're probably like those fancy.
You playing lacrosse? Get your stick out.
Okay.
Wax brush. Oh, okay.
You should never tell a professor to get his stick
I
out.
have to leave.
No, you should never tell someone to get their stick out.
I think we need a break.
Lacrosse.
Thank you. I'll just keep my stick where it is.
Yeah.
You might be offended now. I was really aggressive. Get your
Wow.
stick out.
Let's think about it. So,
No, thank you.
so then you say, in order to apply the principle of economics, right? In this case, the rationality assumption, right? And then it's also a cost-benefit analysis, right? So we would say that high school girls prom attendees with high heels wear them.
What is that word that's after prom that starts
High
with
school prom attendees
Okay.
with high heels wear them because their benefit, perceived benefit, is greater than their perceived cost. At the beginning of the evening. All right. So what we'll have here is this is the.
We can't really see all that, I don't think.
Oh, sorry. Here we are. Okay. So this is the benefit curve. And this is the cost curve. And this is time. All right? Marginal benefit decreases over time, which is the law of diminishing marginal returns. Marginal costs increase over time. This is the law of increasing marginal cost.
Diminishing marginal.
All right. So does the benefit of wearing high shoes, which is very high at the beginning of the evening when you're getting your pictures taken, you're walking in, you're making a wonderful entrance, everything is like just so, completes the outfit. It's like, it's important. Have the right shoes, right? So the benefit is very high. But what happens as the night goes on? This is time. As the night goes on, is the benefit just as good, half an hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, 4 hours? No, what's happening to the benefit of wearing the shoes? It's decreasing, right? So what we have here is a curve right here, that's showing the benefit. That's the benefit curve, and it starts to decline over time. And what's happening to the cost curve? Well, you already bought the shoes. There's no cost in wearing the shoes, is there? What's the cost?
How cute they look.
Well, how cute they look is the benefit.
How they hurt your
How
kid.
comfortable, the pain. That's right. The cost curve measured in pain. You know, you put them on, you're like, well, they're new shoes, they're okay, they don't really bother me, you know. And then as the time goes on, is there a point where you're like, these things are kind of hurting me still? Yeah, and they really are hurting me, right? So what's happening to the cost? It's increasing. And then what happens, right? Something that you probably noticed but never articulated. Whenever you're looking at a graph, something usually is interesting wherever lines cross. How's that one for a wild observation? Okay, so what happens in this case? When the lines cross,
You take off your shoes.
yeah. So this is the moment of marginal behavior change. Yep. Shoes
Not
come off.
successful.
Okay, there you go. That's your answer. That'd be worth full credit. I think I gave like $40,000 for a good answer on that one when I gave essay test, because there was three. Wait, this is how I did it. I gave it was like $120,000 test, and I gave your choice. You could either answer scenario 1A or 1B. They're similar though, right? Let's take. Does anyone have any questions or comments about this one with the prom shoes? All right. And I have a student to thank for this, right? Because a student who was, she was a pretty girl. She graduated from Catholic Central. She was not taken very seriously by her classmates. And what was great, back in those days, I didn't have them making videos or things that could be of use to future students. I just, if somebody wanted to do the extra credit, they would like basically do a presentation in class. And so she defied the expectations. She was fantastically, a really effective presentation about this very thing. And the students were like, oh, wow, okay, yeah. And she's doing very well. She became an economics major. She graduated. She's doing well. This is some years ago, right? So if you're underestimated, so be it, right? You know, it creates opportunities, chinks in their armor that you can exploit. So, but the thing is that this basic principle is a useful way of thinking about it, because then it gives you an idea of what you can like kind of predict what someone's going to do, and why some people keep their shoes on longer, right? Some people took their shoes off this early in the evening, others here, and others here. It's all the same idea. It's just that they either thought the benefit of wearing it was over, or the pain of the shoes, or they weren't used to it. Some people are just used to wearing shoes, or they've got good shoes that don't hurt that much, things like that. So folks have a different tolerance. But it does explain the basics of it. Okay, who wants to explain the second one? The Professor Stenard. Hey, Professor Stenard. It's crazy to say Stenard. What a character. Okay, you want to explain it? No?
I haven't even read it. Give me a second.
All right, go ahead.
Raise your hand, Val.
I didn't raise my hand.
Stenard. It's crazy to say Stenard. What a character. Okay, you want to explain it? No?
I haven't even read it.
All right, go ahead.
I didn't read
Go ahead. Yeah, everyone should read it. Go ahead and read number 2. Want to try it?
That's right, yeah.
All right, let's hear it.
Well, for the marginal benefit is that it starts decreasing over time because he's losing his time, then he'd be getting up to be doing stuff and being active, and then the cost curve could be
can you still use the law of diminishing marginal returns and the law of increasing marginal cost to explain Professor Stenard?
Yeah.
So you already did the law of diminishing marginal returns, right?
Yeah.
Sleeping in another 10 minutes is gonna be sweet, another 10 minutes after that, not quite as sweet, another 10 minutes after that, well, yeah, I mean, it's nice to sleep in, but at some point, it's not that much extra.
Yeah.
The extra 10 minutes isn't gonna do that much for you.
Also, him sleeping in too much and losing even more time to like get up. Right?
Yes, right, so
And-
when he misses the first 10 minutes of the snooze button, the first time he hits the snooze button, right?
Mhm.
He might have a relatively low cost, because he's like, oh, I just have to rush a little bit
Yeah.
this morning.
And then-
Alright, but then if he hits the snooze button again, what's that gonna cost him?
It's gonna, his time just like be able to do whatever he needs to do when he wakes up.
You get fired.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I'm doing enough to get fired, but that's where, the fired is like the last, one of the last. So, what you do is, the idea is like, I can probably do it, I just, I kind of plan on doing
I
snooze
don't need a
button.
shower.
Yeah, right, exactly, right. Then, at first it's just me brushing, then I don't need to shower, I probably don't need to shave, I don't probably have to brush my teeth. I don't really need underwear, I don't have to put on, anything different than I had on yesterday, whatever, right? I can get dressed in the car, that kind of thing. I can get dressed on the bus, right? In the carpool, whatever, right? All these, they become, what happens is each 10 minutes becomes more costly because the low cost thing, the things that are like easy enough to pay for, if you will, already got paid for with the last time you hit snooze. So the only things left are the expensive things. That's why costs go that way. It's the law of increasing marginal cost. You do the low cost things first. I always like it when someone, I don't know where you live, what your situation is, but let's just say you have an apartment and it's like it normally is, and then someone says, hey, I'm in the neighborhood, I'm coming over, I'll be there in 5 minutes. You're like, 5 minutes? Right? And so you do the highest yield things first, right? Like the thing, I'm out of here, and sit right, and that's what's going on, right? If you have 5 minutes, then you do the highest, most productive things first. The law of diminishing marginal returns really means that you do the things that have the highest value first, then the next highest value, and the next highest. If you had another 5 minutes, you had another 5 minutes, you had another, if you had it, eventually you get to the point and be like, this place looking pretty good. I don't know what I do with another 5 minutes. I've done all the things I can think of, right? And then you're done. But mostly that doesn't happen. You run out of time, you run out of resources before you get to that point. So there's always work to be done with something else that could have been done. But hopefully you did it in the right order, so you took care of the highest yield things first. They're called laws because they are laws, meaning natural laws. Question, comment?
Well, I was just gonna say, can you explain to me why though every day I set my alarm at 5 o'clock and I get snooze 40 times and it's like 7 o'clock?
Right. Do you
Look,
like
can you
it that
explain
way?
why I do that? I don't understand.
All right, so
I set it for 5 and every, literally 5 every single morning and I hit snooze until it's like 7:30. Right now I need to.
All right, so you sound a little frustrated by it, which would imply that
Well, because I
it's
never get,
irrational.
I'm always tired when I wake up and it's like,
Yeah.
why do I
You have to
bother
get
setting my
past
alarm?
the
I'm just
Why
gonna
don't
wake
you
up.
just set the alarm for 7?
But every morning, it's just 5 o'clock, 5:30.